I was going to make a joke about how weird it is that the men's basketball team has been winning lately, but we're still trying for a basketball interview, and I also just couldn't think of a funny joke. I'm a broadcaster, not a comedian. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. I know the entirety of Philadelphia has one thing in mind, the Super Bowl, but it isn't Sunday, so hold your horses because we still have LaSalle sports to talk about before the big game. After all, men's basketball is on a 3-game winning streak. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. Like Libby said, everyone is thinking about the upcoming Super Bowl, but here at SportsLine, we're still keeping up with our Explorers first. All of this week's recaps are coming up.
And later, spring sports are starting to thaw out in this warmer weather, so we're giving our predictions for who this standout spring sport will be.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1. Women's golf has been ranked 7th in the MAC preseason poll. This ties their highest ranking in program history and puts them ahead of conference opponents Niagara and Siena.
Number 2, 2 members of the women's water polo team received the MAC honors this week. The Explorers nearly swept the weekly honors, with Emma Gurisic winning Defensive Player of the Week and Francesca Coe earning Offensive Player of the Week.
Number 3, Francesca Coe was named Student Athlete of the Week this week after scoring 10 goals across 4 games last week, helping LaSalle claim victories in 2 of their 4 games.
So big week for Francesca Coe. It's really amazing to see that our Explorers won 2 of the 3 weekly honors for water polo in the MAC conference. Emma Gurisic obviously had a huge 4-game run. Francesca Coe, 10 goals across 4 games. That's a lot.
Yeah, very impressive for her. And this was their first tournament or match of 4 games in the season, so they got up to a very quick start. 2 wins out of the 4, pretty good, but for Francesca Coe getting that quick start, she is one of the leaders on this team, so to see her come out and lead the team right away is really great and sets them up really well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Emma Gurisic with a 28 save performance, that was also huge, obviously very deserving of Defensive Player of the Week. But we also have to talk about the fact that women's golf has been ranked 7th in the preseason poll, highest in program history. It puts them on par with some of the big names in the conference. So Libby, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pretty fun season so far. You know, we're just getting started, kind of getting back on the golf course outdoors. Had a little renovation in the golf room, got some new equipment and stuff. So, but I will say this team coming in this season has a lot of motivation. There's a lot of grit, and it's just a good group of girls. The freshman that came in and our transfer student, Paige, who's a sophomore now, they're really, really talented girls, more talent than we've had in the past. You know, women's golf is a newer program. We've been around for now 6 years. And so we're really trying to build momentum, and we've done that now. We have a good set of coaches and more structure in our program now. And 7th out of 9 teams doesn't seem like a huge deal, but Siena and Niagara are teams that we play against all the time, and when I first came in as a freshman, they were beating us, and now we're consistently beating them. So it's cool to see that the coaches pool is recognizing that as well, and we have a bright future, I think, as a program.
And can I just say, I love that the top 3, very women represented. You know, It's just great to see that, you know, like you said, the women's team is on the come up. Water polo is off to a really strong start. So just the fact that, yes, we talk a lot about the men's teams. They are typically the more like popular ones that we see, but I know top 3 may not seem like a big part of the show, but it's just nice to see that so much recognition is being given this week.
Yeah, National Girls and Women in Sport Day was last week, and
it's every day. It's every day.
You're right, Siobhan.
And that's it for the top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. Women's basketball faced off against UMass this weekend, where the Jacobs sisters got the Explorers off to an ideal start after a scoreless 4 minutes. A blocked ball from Mia Jacobs led to a Claire Jacobs steal, and her layup brought the first points of the game. Mia Jacobs put 2 more on the board, but a 7-0 run from the Minutewomen put LaSalle behind 9-4. Molly Massantonio helped cut the deficit to 9-7, but the Explorers' offense slowed down, and the defense couldn't keep up with the Minutewomen as the teams headed into halftime with LaSalle down 32-21. The third quarter saw the Explorers doing their best to catch up, but UMass held the advantage, taking a 12-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. Despite their best efforts, the Minutewomen would take a 21-point lead in the final frame. With LaSalle scoring just 9 points and shooting 21% from the field, they were held to a 66-42 loss. It was then on to Richmond, where LaSalle found themselves down early. Offensive highlights include a 3-pointer from Charity Shears and a Kayla Sproul layup, but the score favored Richmond 18-11. Halftime wouldn't be much more optimistic, with the Explorers still behind 26-20. Claire Jacobs led LaSalle's offensive efforts in the second half and made some progress in cutting down the Spiders' lead, but they were still handed a second straight loss, this one 67-51.
Coming off a win against George Washington, men's basketball faced A10 rival St. Joe's at Hagan Arena. Mohamedou Decory, Khalil Brantley, and Hassan Drame all had quick baskets to give LaSalle a 7-0 lead in the first 3 minutes. They expanded their lead to 11 with 10 minutes remaining in the first half. Their lead was trimmed heading into half, but a 3 from Deshaun Shepard gave LaSalle a 5-point lead as they went into the locker room. St. Joe tied the game at 47 with 11 minutes remaining, but a Josh Nickelberry 3 put LaSalle ahead once again. 2 more Nickelberry 3s allowed them to keep a slim lead, leaving the game at 56-51 with just under 5 minutes remaining. Help from Anwar Gill and Brantley and a clutch free throw shooting allowed LaSalle to claim the victory 73-65. Then it was on to New York to take on St. Bonaventure. A back-and-forth few minutes saw the Bonnies up 23-19 with just over 7 minutes remaining. Nickelberry and Andreas Marrero put a stop to the deficit and hit a combined 6 threes to give LaSalle a 38-29 lead. After halftime, the Bonnies regained their lead in the final minutes. It was all Decourier. A putback, foul shot, and a short jumper gave LaSalle a 70-66 lead. The Explorers went 6 for 6 from the free throw line in the last minute to secure the win 76-70. They improved to 5-6 in A10 play and 11-13 overall.
Swimming and diving completed their last regular season event. On the men's side, George Williamson swept the 1,000-yard distance races. Jason Rosales took the 1,000-yard breaststroke. Zach Miller took first in the 100-yard freestyle. Sam Henninger led the divers with a score of 310.35 in his 1-meter dive. The men's team took the meet 230-61. For the women, Carlotta Ungo won the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke, and the relay team swept the 400-yard relay. Phoebe Shia broke a pool and school record on her 1-meter dive, scoring a 313.28.
Water polo took to the pool for their first event of the season this weekend, the Bruno Classic, where they played 4 games in the span of 2 days. The first 2 games were played Friday night, where they started off against Brown. The Bears took a quick lead, scoring 2 goals in the first minutes. Francesca Coe answered with a goal of her own to tie it at 1, but a 2-0 run from Brown gave them the lead heading into the second quarter. A goal by Madeline Corper lessened the opponent's lead, but a penalty shot followed by a 3-0 run gave the Bears a 6-4 lead. 2 more goals from Coe and Corper wouldn't be enough, as Brown continued to outscore the Explorers and took the win 10-4. The next matchup was against Gannon. The Explorers came out firing with 6 goals in the first quarter, giving them a 6-1 advantage. 2 goals by Coe, followed by goals from Hannah Warren, Shayna Zuicic, and Casey Malone, put LaSalle up 11-2, heading into the last 8 minutes. A hat trick by Zuanic and Allie Wagner's first career goal made for an easy 13-3 victory. Saturday's matchup brought St. Francis and Harvard. Off to a quick start against St. Francis, Tatum Lomax, Casey Malone, and Zuanic all found the back of the net in the first quarter. This gave them a 1-point lead after allowing 2 goals by St. Francis. The Red Flash tied the game early in the second quarter. A goal by Warren and a timely save by Emma Gurisic allowed LaSalle to keep a 1-point lead. 2 goals from the Explorers in the third quarter gave them a 5-3 lead. 2 goals by St. Francis were responded to with 3 more goals from LaSalle. The Explorers were able to hold off the Red Flash and score 2 more goals for a 9-6 win. Their final matchup began with 3 goals from Harvard, answered by a goal from Co. The Crimson went on a run, scoring a penalty goal and 3 more to expand their lead. Co managed another goal to cut the lead to 5, but another 3-0 run by Harvard left LaSalle down 10-2 heading into half. 4 quick goals out of the half for LaSalle wasn't quite enough, as Harvard went on to score 8 more goals through the duration of the game and took the win 18-7.
So the tables have really turned for our basketball teams lately. We now have the men's team on a 3-game win streak, and the women are on a losing streak. But I have to say, I'm really impressed with the men's team because they've gotten their wins over some pretty tough opponents. You know, we have St. Joe's, St. Bonaventure, which, you know, our games, I'm not going to lie, I did not expect them to win and have the individual performances that they did. Josh Nickelberry really stepped up with the 3-pointers. Deshaun Shepard also stepped up with the 3-pointers. Mamadou Ducouré was huge. Cleo Brantley was huge. So I don't know how long this win streak is going to last, but I'm hoping that they can hopefully, you know, find their footing and find that synchronicity, and hopefully they can keep this going for a little while longer because they're almost at that 500 mark and they're almost breaking even in conference play too. So it's great to see a 3-game win streak against some pretty tough opponents, and hopefully they can just keep the momentum going.
Yep, they are 2 games back from 500. And Siobhan, I like to call myself a positive person.
Yes.
I hyped up the basketball team.
You did.
Specifically, Josh Nickelberry, our favorite comm student last week. I went to Florida, and Megan and Siobhan, like, hated on him a bit. Okay, I'm upset because they proved us wrong. Yeah. They did. Maybe they watched SportsLine. I don't know. Josh Nickelberry, 17 points and then 18 points in 2 games, led the team again off the bench, but that's where he seems to fit on this team. He's coming off the bench, he's playing really, really well. I don't know whose move that was, if it was Fran Dunphy's decision or his, but whatever happened, it's working, and this team is playing well. Like Siobhan said, 2 very, very good wins. There were videos on Instagram from them in the locker room celebrating. This team has still got it. They're still energetic. They're excited to be there and they're playing well. So they're close to 500. They're doing well in A10 play. I don't think the season is over for them.
It's definitely not over, and, you know, obviously a slow start to the season doesn't mean much if they can show that they can turn it around. And, you know, obviously we're not winning any sort of March Madness tournament this season, but it's really promising to see that even though they didn't have a great start to the season, that hasn't kind of let them lay down and just take it. They are still working to improve and do better every game, and we've seen that. We see them. I have to say, kind of disappointed in the women's team, though, because reading the recaps of their games, it's very uncharacteristic the way that they're playing, and the fact that so much of the offense falls on the Jacobs sisters' shoulders, specifically Claire Jacobs, because yes, she's a name that we hear quite a bit, but the fact that a lot of the scoring seems to be falling on her, and you're not really seeing a lot of other names in there, and when you do, it's, you know, a layup here and there, maybe a 3-pointer, but nothing of note. And it's just the way that they've been kind of losing by quite a lot. It's disappointing, and it's really not like them.
Yeah, it's uncharacteristic for sure. This is a tough part of the season. You know, you're getting close to March, but you still have a lot of games to play. Makes you think if maybe they're wearing down a little bit, getting pretty tired. It's a lot of travel. Basketball is not an easy sport. But they have a lot of weapons on this team. You know, names we haven't heard are Kayla Spurl. That's the one I always bring up because she is an incredible player, and it's, you know, she came back for another year, and I was really expecting her to stand out like she did last year, and it hasn't exactly been the same type of superstar season for her. Yeah. Like we said earlier, the season is not over, so maybe she can step up, and they just need a little bit of help. You know, the Jacobs sisters can't do it all as much as we want them to. They're playing really well, but basketball is a team effort. You have to have 5 people on the floor that are working together and able to score, and you have to have that second group coming off and able to do the same thing. So there's more basketball to be played, and I don't want to not pay attention to all of the games that they did win, because this has been a good season for the women's team. So certainly not over. A couple bad games, but I think they're still in it.
And in the same way that we commend the men for winning against tough opponents, we also have to understand that the women had tough opponents in UMass and Richmond. Those are very big schools, very good schools in terms of basketball. So you know, it's perfectly understandable that maybe they would struggle a little bit, and there's really no shame in not doing as well against opponents like that. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have all of our thoughts on spring sports. Stay tuned.
To save America's most iconic and imperiled species from extinction, we must fight for their future. Fight to save the natural lands that wildlife call home. Fight to limit pollution. Fight for smart development. Fight for their future. And fight for ours. For so goes nature, so goes us.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hey LaSalle TV. Welcome to LaSalle TV studio. Let's go take a tour. Alright, so this is our main studio. This is where all the magic happens. We got all 5 cameras right here. We got our camera operator. Hey, can you switch to camera 3, please?
Switch it off to camera 3 right now. Good.
This is where our talent sits for Sports Talk and SportsLine. That's our set for it. All right, so now let's go take a tour of the control room. That's where all the magic happens behind the scenes. So this right here, we have video. We have graphics right over here. This is the technical director. They control all the cameras.
2, 1,
right here, we have the director. Right over here, we have audio. Over here, we have the teleprompter. All right, well, that's all for the tour of the LaSalle TV studio. Thanks for coming by. See ya.
Welcome back. Winter sports are on their way out, so we thought we'd give you a preview of spring sports. So first off, we want to start with, obviously, golf is coming up. It's looking pretty good. So Libby, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so I was talking about the women's team a little bit earlier, but as a whole with the men's and women's team, I was talking about a little golf room renovation. So our golf room is in the basement of the nursing building. Nobody ever knows it's there. But it's a really nice room. We have simulators in there, and we've been doing more speed training. So getting our driver speed, swing speed up to hit it further. For us women, that's very important to get the ball to go somewhere, especially for a tiny person like me. So it's been really helpful, and you know, we're getting back on the course. The weather is finally nice, so getting on grass is really important to get ready for the season. But our MAC championships for the women's team is actually at a different course this year in Florida. We're at the Palms course instead of Magnolia, if anyone knows Florida golf. So we definitely are not really sure what to expect with the course. We haven't been there to play, but it adds another level of excitement for us. It's always something we really look forward to. So a lot of fun events on tap for this season, and a really good group of girls to compete in them.
And then for me, I haven't mentioned them in a while, and there are reasons for that, but I think we are going to get spring soccer again. Usually 5 or 6 games happens in the season. And the reason that I haven't really been on my usual spiel about soccer is the fact that there's been a lot, I don't want to say drama, but there's been a lot of people in the transfer portal, or a lot of people that do want to leave the team on the men's side. I don't think it's as prevalent in the women's team, but I'm just really interested to see what the coaching staff is going to do with that, because they're bringing in a lot of new recruits, but a lot of players that, you know, we've seen and have been at LaSalle for 3-4 years now. They're looking to be on their way out and not stay for a grad year or anything like that. And I don't know what is going on within the team to make that, you know, happen and make it happen so swiftly and have so many people do it. But I'm definitely interested to see what happens in the spring season, if they're going to have to switch up any tactics or anything like that. I'm really excited for the women's team if the women end up doing a spring soccer shortened season, because just looking at their social media posts and seeing them always having lunch together and stuff in the union, they seem to be a really close team and one of younger players, so they don't have as many upperclassmen on their way out. And I just think that's really amazing to see, and I see them practicing in the morning on my way to class. So I'm just really excited for both teams. I'm interested to see what the men do. I'm excited to see what the women do. So it'll definitely be something to look forward to.
Yeah, and team chemistry is a huge point for teams across campus and any team ever. And speaking of team chemistry, I do want to talk about the men's golf team. They have had the most success I've ever seen in a men's program at LaSalle, winning an event last semester and having the freshmen come in and dominate the way that they have. If you recall, Kevin Leiden, our freshman, shot 61 and broke the NCAA record for a freshman round. That's outstanding. I mean, I can't even count how many birdies he had in that round. I've never done that, and have a lot of respect for it. And you know, the freshmen coming in being able to play, but the upperclassmen are performing. This is going to be a really fun spring season for them. They've got, you know, of course the A10 championships is what they always look forward to, and I can't wait to sit back and watch it. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, so if you're not already keeping an eye on LaSalle Golf, which if you're a SportsLine fan, you really should be. Also, of course, want to give a shout out to track and field, because SportsLine loves track and field. We're a track and field school.
Yes.
We're going to be enjoying Ellen Liz Mancini for the last semester. We still have one Mancini sister left, Christine, but I don't think we have any more coming after this, which is kind of disappointing.
Very sad.
But the men have also been having really great runners in Lane Rivard, McCallum Rowe. We've been doing well in field events as well. So, you know, we love track and field. They always give us good interviews and good things to talk about. So that's just something that we're looking forward to in the spring as well.
Yeah, cross country did great this season,
Yes,
and really thrilled to see how track and field does. I feel like every time we write a recap, there's different names in there. They're stacked. I mean, there's so much talent on this team. So it'll be another really fun spring sport to watch.
Yes, definitely.
And we're going to take one last break, but when we come back, we have all of this week's upcoming games for you. Stay tuned.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Those were the days. We'd cruise down drags with our favorite bands. And every night, we had standing dates with the same friends. We hustled, we bumped, we bus stopped, and we smoked all the time. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Visit screenyourlungs.org today.
Welcome back. We've got another week of LaSalle sports coming up, so here's what you have to look forward to. Women's basketball will be at home for 2 games this week. First up on Sunday, February 12th, they will take on Duquesne. Then on Thursday the 16th, they will face Fordham. Water polo will visit Lewisburg, PA this weekend for the Bucknell Invitational, and they'll have matchups against St. Francis Brooklyn, Mercyhurst, and St. Francis.
On Saturday, February 11th, men's basketball will face Massachusetts at home, and Wednesday the 15th, they will be back at Topgolor Arena with a matchup against Richmond. Swimming and diving will cap off their season with the A10 Championships in Geneva, Ohio, Wednesday the 15th through Saturday the 18th. Track and field will also be in action, taking on the BU Valentine Classic in Boston on Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th.
I guarantee you when we write the script, there's going to be confusion over St. Francis Brooklyn and then just plain St. Francis for water polo. But a lot of A10 play this week coming for our teams. We have, women's basketball facing Fordham. We have swimming and diving taking on the A10 championships. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the conference play plays out for our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Conference play is very important, especially in basketball, kind of wrapping up the season. Women need to get a couple wins there, and the men, hopefully they can just keep up their momentum. They've been playing really well. We talked about it a ton, but Josh Nickelberry continuing to come off the bench. I just have really high hopes for him going into the rest of the season. I finally feel like this team has found their footing, so they're ready to go. I believe it.
Yeah, and Josh is also doing a little bit of a documentary thing for his capstone. So I'm interested to see that as well. I think that'll be cool to see the behind the scenes. But they're also facing Massachusetts and UMass like the women did. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up against them. Really excited to see track go out for the BU Valentine Classic. That's really going to start giving them momentum for the spring outdoor season. And I also just think it's cute that it's called the Valentine Classic. But I'm just excited to see what new runners, maybe they'll probably break some records. We'll probably hear some new names in there, names that we've talked about before. So it's just exciting to see them come back after a much deserved break for them.
Yes, when has track and field not broken a record? It's like every week.
It's either a school record or a conference record, or they're placing somewhere in the nation. And honestly, I'm definitely not complaining because we love to talk about it and we love successful Explorer reports. But that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com.
Also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. This week's poll is, who's going to win the Super Bowl, the Eagles or the Eagles?
Go Birds, baby. And for our entire SportsLine team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.